For nearly a decade, South Africa was gripped by one of the most haunting murder mysteries in modern history and today. The woman at the center of it all has finally admitted the unthinkable. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover how Kelly Khumalo's long-denied confession has flipped the Senzo Meyiwa murder case on its head, why the arrest unfolded in dramatic fashion, and the ripple effects that could shake the nation's justice system forever. If someone you trusted confessed to a crime years later, would you forgive them or demand justice? Drop your answer below before you hear the full story. For nearly 10 years, Kelly Khumalo stood firm in her public stance. She had nothing to do with Senzo Meyiwa's death. Her interviews were measured, her words deliberate, always leaning on the same narrative. She was a victim of circumstance, but the weight of a hidden truth can rot the mind from within. Those who knew her privately whispered of restless nights and haunted stares. And then, in one chilling moment inside a cramped interrogation room, she broke. Her voice trembled, eyes locked on the officers across the table. "I killed him," she said. It was a sentence South Africa never thought it would hear. October 26, 2014. Vosloorus, Johannesburg. What began as a casual evening among friends quickly descended into chaos that would grip the nation. Senzo Meyiwa, the beloved Orlando Pirates goalkeeper and Bafana Bafana captain, was gunned down in what police first described as a botched robbery. The streets outside the Khumalo family home were swarmed with flashing blue lights, sirens piercing the night. Neighbors huddled behind fences, whispering in disbelief. Inside, panic reigned, screams, confusion, and bodies moving frantically. By the time paramedics arrived, Senzo's fate was sealed. His life ended in minutes, but the questions would last for years. In the aftermath, Kelly emerged before cameras with tear-streaked cheeks and a trembling voice. She painted herself as a grieving partner, wronged by a senseless act of violence. Over the years, she granted carefully curated interviews, each one reinforcing the same narrative. She had no hand in Senzo's death. She released music, attended awards, and even took part in reality shows, as though life had simply found its rhythm again. Behind that public composure was a steel wall, unbroken, unflinching. She played the role so convincingly that even some of Senzo's own fans began to question the official narrative. Confessions like this don't erupt out of nowhere. They simmer, boiling slowly under relentless heat. For Kelly, the temperature began rising when new evidence surfaced in court. Testimonies contradicting her version of events, witnesses changing their statements, and investigators hinting at previously unseen forensic proof. Add to that the growing chorus of public outrage and the whispered threats from those who had stayed silent for too long. In the interrogation room, surrounded by officers and the quiet hum of a recording device, Kelly faced a truth she could no longer suppress. Years of evasion crumbled into one damning admission. It was just after 5 a.m. when the knock came, sharp, deliberate, unrelenting. Kelly's home was still wrapped in the dim blue of early morning. Neighbors peeked through curtains as unmarked vehicles lined the street. Officers stepped out in plain clothes, their expressions unreadable. Inside, the mood shifted from groggy confusion to icy realization. A warrant was read, hands were cuffed, and the silence of the moment was deafening. The walk from her doorway to the waiting police car felt like a lifetime. For a woman who had once commanded stages, this was the longest, quietest performance of her life. By mid-morning, the news was everywhere. Radio stations interrupted songs. TV anchors abandoned their scripts. WhatsApp groups lit up. Instagram feeds flooded with headlines. And hashtags began to trend worldwide. South Africa's entertainment industry had seen scandal before, but nothing quite like this. Fellow artists expressed disbelief, some defending her, others distancing themselves instantly. Concert promoters scrambled to cancel bookings, brands reviewed contracts, and music platforms faced pressure to pull her catalog. The glamorous world she had built over decades began to fracture in real time, each new update hammering another nail into the coffin of her public image. Senzo's family had waited years for this day, some with hope, others with quiet resignation. When the confession broke, the emotions were complex. His mother wept openly, her grief fresh as if it were 2014 again. His siblings, eyes red from sleepless nights, spoke of a bittersweet relief. The truth had come, but too late to bring him back. On Kelly's side, the mood was fractured. Some relatives stood by her, calling the confession coerced, while others slipped into silence, unwilling to defend what could no longer be denied. Two families, once connected by love, now bound only by tragedy. The walls were bare, the lighting harsh, and the air thick with unspoken tension. Kelly sat with her wrists resting on the cold metal table, her reflection faintly visible on its scratched surface. Opposite her, the lead investigator leaned forward, voice calm but unyielding. Every question chipped away at her composure. At first, she gave the same well-rehearsed answers, but her voice faltered when confronted with evidence she could not explain away. The silence stretched, pressing against her until her eyes welled up, and then, with a deep, shaking breath, she said the words that would change everything forever. If you've been following this case for years, hit subscribe now, because the next details might reveal more than you're ready to hear. Some of the most damning pieces of evidence weren't new. They've been sitting in files, gathering dust, while the case wound its way through years of delays. Cell phone records mapping movements, inconsistencies in witness statements, and even ballistics reports had quietly painted a picture many refused to see. Yet, without a confession, the puzzle remained incomplete. When Kelly's words finally aligned with these long-ignored clues, the narrative shifted instantly. What was once speculation now carried the weight of confirmation, and prosecutors suddenly found themselves holding a case that seemed airtight in a way it never had before. From the very first headline, the Senzo Meyiwa case was a media sensation, and that may have been both a blessing and a curse. Television crews camped outside courtrooms, tabloids splashed unverified rumors, and talk shows debated every scrap of gossip. In the noise, crucial details were buried, and witnesses were influenced by the constant public scrutiny. Some journalists, chasing the next viral headline, inadvertently helped blur timelines and distort key facts. While the media kept the story alive in the public's mind, it also created a smokescreen where truth and speculation merged into something dangerously indistinguishable. Every high-profile case has its silent observers, those who know the truth but choose to guard it. In Kelly's circle, there were whispers of friends who had been in the house that night, who had seen and heard things never meant for the public ear. For years, their loyalty held, stitched together by fear, personal gain, or both. But loyalty has a breaking point. As the legal net tightened, some began to crack, revealing details that aligned too perfectly with the investigator's theory. In the end, Kelly Khumalo's confession was more than a courtroom development. It was a moment that cracked open nearly a decade of pain, speculation, and mistrust. For Senzo Meyiwa's family, it was a long-awaited acknowledgement of what they believed all along, yet also deepened the wound of losing him in such a violent, senseless way. For South Africa, it was a reminder that truth can be delayed, buried, even distorted, but it rarely stays hidden forever. The story doesn't end here. Court battles, revelations, and consequences are still to come. And somewhere beyond the noise, Senzo's name remains a call for justice that will not fade.